Welcome to this. I was not expecting that. Oh, that was funny. Welcome, everyone, to this podcast broadcast of This Week in Science. This is the pre-show in which I tell you that this is going out live to those of you on the live streams right now. Those of you who watch later, you're going to be watching it later. But this doesn't get edited. What gets edited is our podcast. So if something gets messed up here, say I start giggling too much and can't speak for 30 minutes, well, that's going to get edited out. So you don't have to listen to me giggle for 30 minutes on the podcast. So... if you would like to subscribe to our podcast, head over to any place that you like to listen to podcasts and look for This Week in Science. Okay, Justin, you want to do a show?
Let's do it.
Let us do this. Okay, everyone. We are ready. Are you ready for this? Beginning in 3, 2, 1. No, I never say 1. I never say that. I've started doing different things in my brain recently. Starting in 3, 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 1007, recorded on Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. Can you hear us now? Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we are going to fill your heads with bent sound, nice mice, and birdsong. But first.
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. 2 astronauts who've been working odd jobs and taking on temp work aboard the International Space Station after definitely not being stranded since last summer, but operating under a prolonged 9-month contingency plan, are back on Earth at long last. The capsule, carrying Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore, splashed down off the Gulf Coast of Florida shortly before 6 p.m. Florida time on Tuesday. Currently, the astronauts are getting reacquainted with loved ones, gravity, and the concept of up and down. The longest an astronaut has continuously persisted in space, cosmonaut Valery Polyakov, who was in orbit for over 14 months. At 437 days on just one of his trips to space. What was the longest a science podcast has been on the air? That would be This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening, what's happening, what's happening this week in science. What's happening, what's happening, what's happening this week in science.
Good science to you, Kiki.
And a good science to you too, Justin. And everyone out there, welcome to this episode of This Week in Science. We are back to talk about all the science that we thought fit to bring to the show this week. I have stories. Oh yeah, and we are missing a Blair this week. She has caught the creeping crud, the foolish flu, the just not so good. So we hope that she rests up and gets back to us next week very healthily. Yes. But I have stories about, let's talk about some of that stuff in space. Maybe some landings, 1 or 2. I don't know. I've got some sound bending science for you. And mouse morticians, talkative mice, and chatty birds. What do you have, Justin?
Oh, what have I got here? I have got what Euclid can find. I've got a new lab on a chip-ish news kind of a thing. Tsunami warning for California.
What?
And avocados while pregnant. Question mark?
No, say it isn't so. I love avocados. Oh my
I didn't
gosh.
say anything bad. I just say question
You did-
mark. That is
I
that is
know, that's like
completely neutral.
sensationalist. Ah, jump
Completely
to
neutral.
conclusions, Matt.
Question mark is completely neutral. Just
It's
asking
not.
questions over here, people.
Oh my gosh. I'm just asking questions.
Just
It's
asking.
totally fine. All right. Well, let us jump into the show with all the news. But before we do, I want to tell you all that if you are not subscribed yet to This Week in Science, you can find us live streaming Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific time on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Look for This Week in Science, TWIS Science to be able to find us. Yes. And we are all over those podcast platforms. Look for This Week in Science if you want to subscribe to our podcast, or subscribe your friend when you just handily happen to borrow their phone and be listening to podcasts like this one. Additionally, you can find more information about the show at our website, twis.org, twis.org. Now it's time for the science. Let's start with those space landings. You ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it. Now, but I just really want to know about all the guacamole. You got to serve it up.
I'll go ahead and start with that story. This is so it's not. I have it all the way at the end. Right
Save
now.
it. It's
Just,
like the
okay.
news at 11. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just on my mind now. I love avocados. Okay, I'm just thinking about this because our astronauts, our wonderful astronauts who became members of Mission 72 and Crew 9, even though they did not originally start out that way, Suni and Butch, they have made it back to Earth after a long, long line of waiting, having to wait again and again. But they didn't just sit at the space station's beautiful cupola window and stare at Earth longingly. Oh no, they were part of the science missions. They helped to do all sorts of stuff around the International Space Station for the over 200 days, over 250 days that they were on the station. They expected to be there, it was a 3-hour tour. No, like a 7-day tour, but they ended up staying there much, much longer than expected. Finally, at long last, they have made it home. I find the quote from acting NASA Administrator Janet Petro. "We are thrilled to have Suni, Butch, Nick, and Alexander home after their months-long mission conducting vital science, technology demonstrations, and maintenance aboard the International Space Station. Per President Trump's direction, NASA and SpaceX worked diligently to pull the schedule a month earlier. This international crew and our teams on the ground embraced the Trump administration's challenge of an updated and somewhat unique mission plan to bring our crew home. Through preparation, ingenuity, and dedication, we achieve great things together for the benefit of humanity, pushing the boundaries of what is possible from low Earth orbit to the moon and Mars." And
That's amazing. I actually didn't even know they had a theater department at NASA.
I was going to say, and
Acting
that
director.
said, some of the information about this, this save that was made amazingly, that could never have been made before. The information has come out also that there was a brief 2-day handover when Crew 9 moved into the ship to come back on the Crew Dragon spacecraft, and Crew 10 replaced them on the International Space Station. This was on Saturday, March 15th, and then they took a couple of days, and then they tried to get back. These handovers usually last about 5 days, but they abbreviated that because there was a spate of good weather in the Gulf. This is from spaceflightnow.com. And also because they really didn't want that many people on the International Space Station, and to preserve the amount of consumable items on the station, because there's a lot that can be eaten in 3 days by 4 extra space people. They were going to have the Cygnus spacecraft going and taking Crew 10 and bringing back Crew 9. However, there was a delay to that launch. during the transport of the spacecraft to Kennedy Space Center. There was some schedule and manifest shifting to accommodate this change. The Crew 10's launch got shifted a few times. The original ride, that Cygnus, it wasn't ready. The Crew Dragon spacecraft with the tail number C213 wasn't ready. So they actually, that SpaceX vehicle wasn't ready when they wanted it. That vehicle was slated to fly the Crew 9 mission, but it was changed due to the vehicle not be ready to fly. It was scheduled for Crew 10, and then that mission got delayed from February to March, and the risk of further delaying the mission because C213 was still not ready to fly. NASA and SpaceX decided to bring up the Dragon Endurance, which was originally positioned to fly the AX-4 private astronaut mission for Axiom Space. And so next, we don't know how Axiom's going to get to space next time, but there are 4 commercial astronauts that will be taking the next SpaceX launch up in March or early April for the free flying polar orbit mission called FRAM-2. But the bottom line is there have been schedule shifts and delays, and there's weather, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. And through it all, the people at NASA and they coordinate and collaborate with people at SpaceX and other commercial bodies that they partner with to be able to manage their space people crews, their astronauts, whether or not they're governmental or commercial. They do the best they can to get the missions done successfully without loss of life or limb. That's what they do. Yeah, Patrick Pecoraro is saying, I think at this point we can just say the whole schedule has shifted. And I think you are absolutely right there. But everyone's home, which is wonderful. And it's Suni. Suni has actually, she's done something like some over 400, 600 days in space over her 3 missions. She is a long hauler for space. So she was ready for this, but they're home now, which is good. Speaking of other things in space, NASA is reporting from their team, supported by Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, their NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, used data from the SCALPS instrument, stereo cameras for lunar plume surface studies. It's a 1.1 instrument that was on the bottom side of the Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost lunar lander that landed successfully on the moon on March 2nd. They took single shots that were taken by a selection of cameras off of the Firefly mission in order to create a low resolution video. The cameras were shooting at about 8 frames per second, so there's no real persistence of vision, but you can get an idea of what the lunar surface looks like as the vehicle, the Firefly lander, actually lands. And it's like you would expect. It's very dusty, and the dust flies, the regolith flies all over the place. And then the lander lands on what appears to be fairly solid surface, which I think is really exciting. But this data they were able to take from multiple cameras, short focus and long focus cameras, in order to be able to put together these videos. And they're also all mapped by time, by altitude, by sequence, so that they have offered a real image of what's happening during landing, so that for future missions, we can potentially plan ahead and get an idea of, how to design things better so they don't fall over when they land. But I mean, if you've got issues when you're coming in for a landing, it's probably not going to be good no matter what. Anyway, this camera, all these cameras working together have given, this is the first time that this kind of data has really been put together. This is going to be used specifically for the Artemis campaign and for other trips to the moon, and potentially as they increase and advance the technology to places like Mars as well. Yeah. Pictures of dust on the moon. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. So they were able to get that data back, and this instrument is still in operation and is getting information on the light and shadows as they move during the lunar day, and is going to be taking a look at surface details under and around the lander to be able to see how the dust changes during the lunar day and night, to see how much of a change there is, specifically to static forces within this dust, but yeah, to see how things change. Oh, see how they change on the moon. But I'm not going there anytime soon. What about you, Justin?
Me to the moon? No, thank you.
No.
There's not much to do.
Yeah, there is too much. Like what?
There's nothing to do on the moon. I mean, that's the thing they don't tell you about the moon. There's literally nothing to do.
Except sit around and do bloodstream tests? I don't know. Test yourself for infections? I don't know.
So I think I switched it. You must have the old version.
Are you going for avocados? Is that what you're doing now?
Nope.
No.
I got
Darn it.
My rundown now shows the Euclid space mission.
Oh. Okay, let's go with Euclid.
I decided to piggyback with your space talk.
Okay.
Euclid, which is the European Space Agency's overall mission, although this is 21% funded by the German Aerospace Center. It has contributions from NASA for the some of the instruments on board, as well as Max Planck Institutes. Also contributed a lot for the design, data processing for the scientific research aspect. Airbus Defense and Space Systems developed the payload module, including for the telescope. So, and the Euclid Consortium, which is more than 2,000 scientists across 15 different countries, including the U.S., Canada, and Japan. So this is a big collaboration mission.
I love these words: collaboration, contribution. This must have been months ago that they planned it.
So, and the goal of this is to map the geometry and evolution of the dark universe by precisely measuring the shapes, positions, and distances of billions of galaxies, unveiling the nature of dark matter and dark energy and their role in cosmic history. So, what now they got data's already, got data's coming down. It's going to be a while before the data's processed where we're like, oh, and there's a new paper from Euclid, but couldn't resist. I want to get in now and talk a little bit about what we might be expecting. What types of research, anyway. So, by measuring a lot of the distortions in galaxy shapes, it will have a goal of mapping the distribution of dark matter to help us understand that mysterious force, whether it's driving the expansion of the universe through dark energy, or being driven by dark energy, I guess. Gravitational lensing insights. This is one I'm actually the most excited about. So it has a very advanced system for identifying gravitational lensing. So we know what the strong lensing looks like. That's when they take a shot of a galaxy and you can see all these arcs, Einstein arcs of gravitational lensing from things in the back behind. But this is also going to be able to see some of the weaker lensing, sort of to identify where it's at. And why that's helpful is that then you can start deciding where to aim something like James Webb, so that it's hitting maybe some of these, what appear to us from here as weak gravitational lensing, but could just be really far away lensing events. And that means if you can zoom in on that far away lensing thing, you're getting a view from there of a lensing way back into time and space. So it's got a much wider view. I think it was somewhere 100 times the viewing, image viewing capability compared to, say, Hubble. So it's going to be able to take...
amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be able to take a lot more galactic data photos, selfies.
So each photo or each combination of photos, because they're taking a whole bunch during their scans, each combination is going to have more data, higher resolution, and wider scan of the sky.
Yeah. They're looking to map the cosmic web. That's those strands of galaxies across billions of years of cosmic history.
So isn't this the kind of stuff that like James Webb can show us, this kind of stuff, because it's the infrared, not actually stuff that's, or is this looking at regular old light?
Correct. So this has regular light, but it also has infrared optics that are actually newer versions than James Webb.
Yuck, everything gets updated. We update from Hubble to Gaia to James Webb. We've got, there's so many. And now Euclid.
Yeah. So one of the things that, and it's not in what I'm looking at here, but there was some conversation I was reading about where they were describing how it filters out ghost imaging also in a more advanced way. And so that it will be higher resolution, basically, is what it comes down to. Newer, better, bigger, faster, all of that sort of thing. Now, I don't know that it has quite the depth of vision that JWIST has.
Right. So it's kind of like you have it's in all kinds of photography or in these collection systems. It's the pros and the cons, or what you get versus cost versus benefit. So you can do a tight, highly focused, really high resolution, or you can do wide and a little less resolution. But this looks like it's pretty amazing. I can't wait to go see this and James Webb all mushed together in a in one of those beautiful planetarium shows.
But yeah, so again, the thing I'm most excited about, and of course it's going to be giving us new data on redshifting, on distances of objects, on age of the universe, of rate of expansion. It's going to give us better information on those sorts of things as the data comes in and as it gets analyzed.
Will it help with that whole
tension-y thing?
The tension?
So yes and no. So again, my opinion only, but I think the tension there is not going to be resolved by data collection. It's going to have to be resolved through
methodology and
through
assumptions.
Shedding off of a few assumptions of how we think the universe expands or contracts or forms. I think there's going to have to be a little bit of an alteration of, it's not really the fundamental, I don't think, standard model, but certainly the lambda CDM isn't going to stand as it is today.
No.
Right. Okay. So, but again, the thing I'm the most excited about of this again is the gravitational lensing, because identifying there's a sweet spot in gravitational lensing that is the sort of, I think, the holy grail of deep space telescopy, whatever. If you find a stack of lensing things, one behind another, what you can ultimately do is train your telescope in that direction and peer back through another telescope that has been designed through gravitational lenses. These are the sorts of things that I think we're going to get in all these billions of galaxies and data that comes in over the next years. Finding one or two of these for us to then investigate, I think is the biggest prize. But there could be, of course, untold bounties of new discoveries.
Oh my gosh, there's going to be so many.
Year or two?
26 million galaxies. This is amazing. Yeah. I love this. Deep field. wider, bigger, more information.
Yeah, and we've only scanned such a tiny portion of the galaxy, and then a much smaller percentage of that deep field has really been taken at any type of resolution. This is a major step forward in cosmology. Yeah.
Huge step. I think it's going to be so fun to compare what it discovers and put it in line with what Chandra, with James Webb, with Hubble, with Gaia, with with everything that we are launching and putting up to look out at our universe with, to be able to compare all of them. The more eyes on the sky that we have, the better our data, and the better we can start to hone our questions, because we can start to see where things line up in particular ways. That's cool. Moving on from space. Sounds good, right? Does that sound all right? Wait, where'd Justin go? He disappeared. He's like, I gotta get out of here. I'm going to space.
I heard you bending that sound there, Kiki.
Did you hear me
What?
sound bending? Yes, it's not
Yeah.
spoon bending anymore. It's sound bending. Oh my goodness, what have I become? Researchers from Penn State University have just published their work in bending sound. So you've gone to those cool little places, sometimes at, if you've been to Europe, you might go, or to old churches, or you can go and they've got the alcoves where you can be at one end, or the exploratorium. We've talked about it before, where you can be in one spot at one end of the exploratorium and talk to your friend in a little alcove at the other end of the hall. And you basically can hear each other just fine. And nobody else can hear your conversation, really. Except for people, right? They just hear you talking and they're like, who are you talking to? But you happen to be just at the wavelength where the sound can come, interact with your ear. And it's a really great demonstration of the parabolic nature of these alcoves and how they bounce sound, and also the wavelength function of the way sound works. Now,
unfortunately, I've never experienced that.
Ever?
Every time I've been to an exploratorium, I was by myself.
No, so you never had somebody to talk to? Oh, I'm so sorry for you. We'll have to do it sometime. We'll go and we'll talk about science in the exploratorium sound.
Somehow I missed that. Like, I've been through those things a bunch of times, tried to do everything, and somehow I've always missed that one.
Well, these things, they exist. The whisper chambers, I think they call it, or the whisper alcoves. You can, where priests could be whispering to each other at the other, one at either end of a church.
Why are they whispering?
I don't know. They have to keep quiet in church.
Secret?
I have no idea. Anyway, this is getting off tack a little bit, but long intro into this really interesting research that is published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences this last week, actually March 17th, just 2 days ago. These Penn State researchers have developed a method to use very, very high frequency sound, ultra broadband, they say, so 125 hertz to 4 kilohertz, in which they use particular materials, metamaterials, to create these ultrasonic beams. The ultrasonic beams then travel in a bending path, not a straight line like you would think sound normally travels in. No, not a straight line, but in a bending line, because their sound can be moving in different axes, and as it interacts, because of the metamaterials, it creates different sound waves within this ultrasonic beam of sound that bends the sound pathway so that it can intersect with another ultrasonic beam. And where it intersects, it can create a place in space where anybody who's in that spot will hear from the ultrasonic dropped down into the audible frequency range, some kind of recording or focused sound. So they're self-bending ultrasound beams. And this is a concept that they're calling nonlinear acoustics. So usually focused sound beams, they only travel in one particular direction. And the sound is emitted along that entire direction. So if you're at a concert, doesn't matter where you're standing, the sound is being emitted, and you can be in front of the speakers, you can be very far away from the speakers, but if you are in the line of the sound coming out of those speakers, you will hear it. In this situation, they're using ultrasound because it can penetrate through a bunch of materials without being diffused, and they're using it as a carrier, not actually carrying audible sound, but in that when it meets up with the other beam of sound, there is destructive interference that drops the frequency range into the audible range, and creates audible sound only in that location where the ultrasound beams intersect. Yeah.
Oh, that's super clever.
It is very clever, and honestly, the idea for this, I think, is absolutely brilliant. You know, it's like we can have sound sources on one side of a tree, and then we will have it sound like somebody's whispering in your ear on the other side of the tree, and you'd never know where the sound was coming from. Now, there are crowd control devices like were used in Serbia this last week, like sub-millimeter arrays and ultrasonic weapons that are used to get people to move away because it's actually damaging in like especially the ultrasonic crowd control devices, because it's very high frequency sound and it hits and it can actually cause physical damage, burning, or even if it hits your head, it can cause damage to your ears, your sinuses, and cause all sorts of wonderful things. But imagine if they weren't actually trying to to hurt you, but actually communicate or create alcoves in space for particular listening experiences. And what I'm imagining, the great, wonderful uses of this would be in a museum where you could walk in front of a painting and have, instead of having to carry a recording device or there would be a spot where you could stand and listen to certain information about a painting. Or maybe it's an immersive experience. You could walk to different places to experience different music or different audio environments that have been programmed in. And these things, the sound waves, would potentially go around all sorts of sculptures and other things in the environment and not necessarily need direct line of sight interactions to be able to create that enclave for sound.
Pascal in the chat room is saying, sounds like future spy tech. Sounds like past spy tech. It sounds like something that you would expect from if anybody's familiar with the original Wild Wild West show.
Yeah.
Where they were like,
man, taking it back.
Wild West cowboy spies that lived on a train car, but had some kind of like everything was mechanical gadgetry spy tech. This would have been perfect.
Made no
you
sense.
could hear a thing before you had like earbuds or. I don't know.
Yes,
I think I would be annoyed more than anything else with the with museum telling me something about a painting I'm trying to look at.
But maybe there's a specific, it lets you know there's a specific spot, and people who would like to do that can go do that. Or you can just have it quiet, but you only get that when you walk into that one particular spot.
Yeah.
So
and then it's just going to be used for advertising, right?
It probably would be just
like you
used
walk
for
in front of
on the street
soda machine and it's like, thirsty?
Exactly.
Are you thirsty? Do you feel thirsty?
You feel like you need a soda? This bubbly, sugary thing.
or it'll just get used for like it'll be totally public consumption and be used for like pranking people.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not gonna. I don't know.
But think about also noise canceling. So what if they could do the opposite? So something like your noise canceling headphones, but instead of creating an audible sound, what if they could cancel audible sounds? So you could create quiet spaces in busy environments. You could create locations for private conversations. I think that also is like an exciting way to think of it. There are going to be the good and the bad.
I have such a terrible mind. Now they're going to use it on protesters. What are they chanting? Can't tell. We got the noise cancellation on them. Nobody can hear them. Actually, that might be kind of fun.
2, 4.
Yeah. All right, quiet down, crowd. I need everybody quiet. You know what? Never mind. I'm just going to hit this button right here. Okay. Oh, much better.
That's so much better. Oh, yes. It's like a silent disco, except it's a silent protest. That's great.
Ooh, a disco with different music playing in different parts of the same dance floor. Huh?
Exactly.
Okay, this is starting to get fun.
Disco.
There's such bad dancers over there. No, they're just dancing to a different tune. That's all.
Oh, you can dance to the beat of your own drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no more loud neighbors. Oh, the neighbor's dog. This is the highest and best use. The yappy dog.
Or the
that
rooster
yappy dog.
at the farm next door.
There's always yapping all day long when the owner leaves. You
Always yapping.
Point this at that thing and shh. Oh, perfect. Now that's gonna sell. The dog silencer.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this is a really neat advancement. I mean, we've had the ability to have destructive interference and focused sound like this for a while, but the advancement now are these self-bending, self-tying shoelaces, self-bending ultrasonic beams that are created by acoustic metasurfaces that can bypass obstacles like human heads. In order to create.
And that is what we need. That is the biggest obstacle that we are up against in this world.
I really love abstracts and press materials. They have so many fun little statements in them. All right, Justin, tell me about something
else
promising.
University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Researchers have developed a CRISPR-based diagnostic tool called CRISPR-Cascade, which is a super fast assay that allows them to detect bloodstream infections in just minutes. So the normal process would be you would get a blood sample and then you'd do some DNA capture from that, and then you would put it into a PCR, polymerase chain reaction thing. It would sit there for hours.
Right, but I'm just like taking this back. It's like, okay, so this is sepsis, a bloodstream infection, right? Your blood is infected.
Yeah.
Sepsis.
But with what? What do you got?
Just throw all the antibacterials at it. Just all the antibiotics.
No.
Just pour bleach on it. No.
You gotta know what it is. You gotta know what you're up against. You gotta know what you're fighting.
Oh, we have to.
So anyway, where was I? Okay, I'm about 6 hours in now because I've done a DNA extraction. I've done some library tagging, and I've done some PCRing to get the numbers up so that it can then be sequenced through a sequencer. Oh, we're talking at least another 24 hours there, and then on and on and on. You can, and then by the time that lab even gets to your samples and gets back to you, it could be weeks or months. It takes a long time.
And by that time, the person is potentially dead.
Or feeling better and doesn't care what they had. Whatever.
Who cares what it was?
Or yeah, the new pandemic is now everywhere because it took us weeks to figure out that we had a problem. Even though scientists were telling us that they were seeing the problem in, say, cattle or chickens or cats.
Too
Anyway,
soon, Justin. Too soon.
no, it's not soon at all. Anyway, where was I? Ah, yes. So this new CRISPR-Cascade, basically, they have created this tool so that it will illuminate in specific ways when it encounters specific types of blood pathogens.
So is this like a lab on a chip, but after specific pathogens? Like they already know what they're looking for?
Yeah. So, and that's how most tests are. You know, if it detects a novel thing, well then yes. If it's a novel thing, it should take longer. You have to go through the regular process to see what the novel thing is. But if it's in one of the categories where it has certain binding sites that get cleaved and what have you, or certain elements that get cleaved by the CRISPR, it will illuminate in a certain way so that they can identify it. And the process probably takes, with prep and everything else, probably right now I think it's the half hour. But they also claim that there's some potential to improve sample prep. And, you know, because this is just invented, it hasn't been really, they haven't worked on efficiency yet. They think they can get under the 15-minute mark. So then you can have infectious disease diagnostic point-of-care testing that allows for personalized medicine right there on the spot.
What kind of percent accuracy do they have it right now with the 30 minutes? I mean, that's fast. Yeah. Still.
So I don't have an accuracy here. I think it just gets it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So the reaction. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see.
For that. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's see. It is MRSA is one of the things that they tested it against.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very often antibacterial resistant too. So to know that what you have. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of, so it's important to be able to differentiate and find these things.
So someone brought up, and we have to bring this up now, I think, with any kind of technology like this where we have a study that says we can do this. Is this like Theranos? Is this like the lab on the chip where you're going to have a machine or you're spitting a tube or this is not that, but you'll take a little pinprick, put a drop of blood on a little plate, put it in a machine, and 15 minutes later it spits out a diagnosis? Is this kind of that model?
That model was a fraud.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm asking.
That you specifically mentioned. So no. But it's going to be, you know, a rapider turnaround time. I once toured I think it's basically one of the state of California's public health departments, but it's in Santa Cruz County is who hosts it, and it is a bunch of machines running samples sent in from all over the state and sometimes out of state even. And those are going to be there for at least 24 hours. No idea how long it took to sample and get them sent, and then how long it takes for the information to get back to the patient. But it could be days.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a big outbreak of something, you would have a days of delay between the samples you sent to the center and then being able to tell you what they're finding, or that they're seeing, hey, the last 10 samples that came from your county all were this.
Yeah.
And that's important information to have really quickly. The downside, as I'm saying this, is of course, if all of the samples for all of Northern California are running through one lab, and there's an outbreak, that lab's going to notice it. Hey, we just got 50 cases of this when we normally see 1 or 2 a month. Whereas if you have personalized lab on a chip style, one doctor in one town has one patient that has this. Well, it's not an outbreak. It's just gotta help this one person. Might not see if it's not connected in some way, if it's not reported in some way. You might not get to see that there's a pattern, or that it's all originating from a certain area or town or region, or whenever there's a full moon, whatever, however pathogens work. I don't know what motivates them.
We're finally going to figure out what it is that wolfbane actually treats against. Yeah, what it treats. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in this. It says in their abstract that it's a 1.3 signal to noise ratio, and that they can do what do they say here? They can do attomolar sensitivity within minutes, which is very low concentrations. So the fact that it's amplification free is great. It speeds it up, but I'd still love to know their false positive rate and know exactly how accurate their stuff is, because that is not something that I'm seeing on the face of this research at the moment. But this is exciting. This is the kind of stuff that, if it works and it's not fraudulent, this is the kind of stuff that will take us beyond where Theranos was trying to get us.
They were never trying to get anybody anywhere other than to separate from investment dollars. I think that needs reiterating. Their CEO is in prison.
Yes.
It was a scam.
Come on, Kiki. It's a scam. Don't listen to those people. It was a scam.
I'm sorry if you were still waiting for that investment to turn around.
No.
That money was long spent, probably on defense lawyers.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And even that was for no good, for a losing cause.
Well,
it's not always okay. I want to just point out, it's not always odd not to place accuracy on research. It depends on the stage. Proof of concept is does it work and how long does it take? And then how accurate is that's a thing we figure out later when we're working on that refinement. First, we need to know, is this worth doing for 3 more PhDs or pre-PhD students? Is this something that they should be investing their time?
Yeah, and then money. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much did I invest in Theranos? I did not invest.
Proof of concept.
I invested our time here on TWIS talking about Theranos.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hey everybody. We're talking about TWIS right now. We're talking about you and TWIS. You and your friends or coworkers and TWIS. Who needs to know about TWIS? You know about it. But who do you know who needs to know about TWIS? Well, TWIS is supported by listeners like you. So if you can head on over to twis.org or send your friends there, you can help support us by clicking on the Zazzle link, looking at our merchandise, and oh yes, buying the merchandise. That is wonderful. If you would like to support us, we have cool stuff that's TWIS based. Oh, Justin's got a nice shirt. That shirt that Justin has, I believe, is available on our Patreon. It's also available through our Zazzle store. We also have lots of cool items that are Animal Corner art that Blair has developed for us. Also, over on twis.org, you can click on the Patreon link. When you click on that Patreon link, it will take you to our Patreon community. Anyone who is able to donate $10 or more per month, we will thank by name at the end of the show. I really do love getting to be able to make it a longer and longer list full of harder and harder to pronounce names. It just makes it a lot more challenging and fun for me at the end of the show when I can't speak anyway. Oh, my goodness. Everyone, yes, all of it. It's for you. It's fun for us. We hope it's fun for you. We like the science. We love talking about science with you. We're so glad that you're here. We really can't do it without you. Thank you for your support. So, Rachel, you're going to want to edit this part out because now I'm just going to talk and wait until Justin comes back because he put on a jacket left while I was doing the midpoint announcement for the podcast. And I'm sure he'll be back in a few minutes. But I don't know. In the meantime, I can show you tiny knife tricks. No, I'm not going to. I don't have any tiny knife tricks at all. Everybody, I hope that you are have all your representatives, legislators, local politicians on auto dial these days because, hey, they're looking through an executive order at taking money away from the Institute for Libraries and Museums, or museums and libraries. Anyway, they give all sorts of money to museums across the country, like OMSI here in Portland, the Exploratorium, California Academy of Sciences, California Science Museum, libraries across the country get funding from grants from this institute that is government funded. And honestly, our knowledge, we need repositories and reserves for our knowledge and to inspire us to ask questions and learn. So yet again, something else for us to try and continue to support, to have our tax dollars support for the benefit of our society and our future.
But really, honestly though, let's have a real convo first. One sec.
I was gonna. We can talk after.
Do we really need museums and libraries? Because they're getting rid of the Department of Education. And that's who normally takes large groups to museums and libraries. And so once you don't have education...
No, every parent is going to go do
buildings, this. Who would visit them?
All the parents who are homeschooling their kids.
Good grief. Good grief, people. Good expletive grief.
Yep. My mother took me to the library, little tiny library in the little town that was closest to us when I was growing up. She volunteered there once a week. She would take me. I would run around. There were maybe 4 aisles of books in this library. It was the best magical kingdom to me. And I would go and I'd get all these books. I'd read and I'd roll. I didn't roll around in the books, but I just explored and explored for a long time. Tried, and I'm sure I was very annoying to my mother, but the books kept me occupied, and I'd go home with as many books as they'd let me leave with. It was a giant stack of books. And
wait a second. In this dystopian future that we're about to enter, can I occupy
DOE is
California Academy of Sciences and just be like, I live here now? And then
maybe
start my own
if it's
science
not funded
island
anymore,
in the midst of the collapse of society.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? Hang on. Let me rethink. No. My dystopian fantasy is one of stark survival necessity against the hordes of
Right. You can go
people.
to Oakland's fairy. Was it the fairy tale?
Oh, I love that place.
Fairyland.
That is
Fairyland.
such a great... Fairyland is such a great
Fairyland
park.
in Oakland. Also supported by grants from the Institute for Museums and Libraries. So, I don't know. I think Fairyland would be amazing. I like Fairyland. Let's all go live at Fairyland.
I'm still going Cal Academy of Sciences.
You take Cal Academy. I'll take Fairyland. Okay. On that note... Welcome back to more This Week in Science. Justin, do you have more stories to talk about?
Well, I do, and you're not going to like this one because it's going to potentially affect Fairy Tale Town.
No.
All right,
is it because of avocados?
No, it's because of tsunamis.
What? Okay.
Yeah, according to this,
I
got this off of phys.org, but it's by way of Los Angeles Times. The risk of damaging flooding from major tsunami may be greater than many realized along stretches of California's renowned coastline. This is according to state officials. So the most recent risk assessment outlined in maps that were published by the California Geological Survey, reviewed by the Los Angeles Times for this this article, illustrate that the devastation could result from scenarios we consider to be extreme are very realistic. For instance, a large tsunami could flood swaths of Marina del Rey, Long Beach, and nearby dual port complex to an elevation up to 15 feet above sea level.
Oh, that's actually, that'll go pretty far in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If it just hit Marina del Rey, I mean...
It'll be fine. Marina del Rey is very pretty, but okay, whatever.
It's a lot of boats. And I don't think... Yeah. Anyway. Worst case scenario tsunami could bring flooding 18 feet above sea level to sizable areas of Berkeley, Alameda, and Oakland. There goes.
And where? I'm sorry.
Oakland.
Oakland. Okay.
Oh, that's not good. But that's only 18 feet. Gets worse. Flooding could reach up to 30 feet above the average high tide, which is like, it's not that 30 feet.
That is, the high tide. That's devastating. 30 feet above high tide would be devastating.
Along the outer coast of Humboldt Bay and the Eureka areas. And if you go just a little bit further north, it could get 50 feet up in Crescent City in Cayucos. And if you don't know where Crescent City in Cayucos is, it's fine. There's very few people there. Low density. If those towns didn't exist, you wouldn't even know it. However, it is some of the most beautiful coastal area of California, if you ever get a chance to visit. Anyway, so for most Californians, the precise extent of tsunami risk is less important than knowing these hazard zones exist in the first place, because most people aren't even aware. Although I have noticed actually up in Humboldt and down the coast, I have noticed the tsunami signs are there. Mm-hmm. So the tsunami signs are there. They have a siren system in place based on past recognition that these things were threats. And a lot of this, a lot of the sort of upping of this tsunami awareness game comes from, I think it was 2010 event that hit Japan. No, maybe it was earlier than that even. But that tsunami, they realized, was not something that they thought could happen, because normally you judge tsunamis by looking in the past and looking in the history, and they hadn't had anything like that. But there was a marker in Japan that was talking about tsunami that was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, like maybe 1,500 years old, way inland. That people knew it was there, but nobody... So there are big tsunamis can be a once in 1,000 year event. But when it happens... So what do you do? What do you do? Basically, and this is like a horrible advice, I think, from this article, because of where we are. Sorry, and the tsunami in Japan was 2011. Thank you. The advice sort of is, if you're near the coast and you feel strong shaking from a local earthquake, then move inland as soon as possible.
Yes. Sometimes, though, you don't know quickly enough.
Problem is we have a lot of earthquakes in California.
Yeah.
You'd be on the road with all those out-of-state people who are trying to run from an earthquake. I don't know. But knowing if you're in one of those highly affected areas would be really...
And so this is the Department of Conservation, and it's the California Geological Survey. This Department of Conservation, the funding that comes from taxpayers to support this research and to give us timely and accurate warnings, I assume, is considered very important.
Probably not anymore.
I do hope that that California continues to put money towards this kind of research. Understanding our geological hazards is so important to our healthy survival on this planet. And I mean, it's earthquakes, right? It's tsunamis, but part of it is people like to live places that are very bad for their like survival. Like I live near volcanoes. It's beautiful here. Other people live near the beach, near coastal regions because it's beautiful or it's nice weather. And this is where fish are. And so a large economy has grown up around it. You know, the places that we end up congregating and developing our societies are where our main populations live, very often are bad for our health.
I tend to live in very safe from major disaster areas that have terrible weather. So that makes sense now. Now I get it. Now I get the trade-off.
You get the trade-off, yeah. Terrible weather, but you're safe. You'll survive.
Denmark has buildings from the, standing from, thousands of years. In the heart of their downtown because they've never had an earthquake. But they have the weather. It's not great.
It's beautiful weather. Denmark.
It's not great.
It's humid
Central California rarely has any kind of earthquakes that you can feel. There's no flooding. There's no tornadoes. There's no any of that here. Well, there's flooding in certain parts, but not around where I'm at. But the summers are, 110 degrees for weeks at a time. It's just unbearable heat in the Central Valley. But nothing, no major disasters other than it just always is kind of uncomfortable outside.
Let's see. There's Marina. I'm looking at the maps. Marina Del Rey. Yep, you're underwater all the way up there. So it looks like LAX will be underwater. If we look at where things are going to be. Yeah, LAX will be underwater, most likely.
And they just remodeled too.
Oh, you changed your microphone. They just remodeled. Yeah. Okay, tell me about another lovely place. Another lovely piece of news.
Lovely place. Other more news. Okay, this is the story everybody wanted to hear. Do avocados?
Question
are
mark?
they safe for pregnant people? Question mark? Question mark? Well, fear not, because the Haas Avocado Board teamed up with the University of Eastern Finland to examine the relationship between...
Lots of avocados in Finland?
I mean, if you don't want to look like you're research venue shopping, don't do your avocado study in Eastern Finland, people. Like, it's just... Like, before we even get into talking about the findings, already there's like a red flag. Why are they studying avocado eaters in a place that...
In Finland.
Eastern Finland, no, Western Finland, I get it. Those people that, avocados get right there on shore from the boats, carrying them from half the planet away.
Almost a Mediterranean climate. Jeez.
Southern Finland, you got that whole Baltic Sea access or whatever that is there.
Baltic. It's just how I think of avocados.
Balmy Baltic Mediterranean weather. But you get into your Eastern Finland and you're like, how, what? Were they even, how do they even know? Like, there's people in Eastern Oregon who still don't know what an avocado is.
I don't know. Now, with so much avocado toast in the U.S.?
Okay. I know people who grew up in Eastern Oregon who didn't experience an avocado until they moved to California. That's a true story. They didn't know what it was.
But that was 20 years ago.
Sure. Yeah. No, it might have been more than 20 years ago. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They might
It's
have
still
well
stuck
have
in my
lived
head.
in
And that's
Finland.
nothing has changed. I have never really gotten an official update from Eastern Oregon that it is at all evolved. And it's given me no reason to think it has.
Oh, we've got her
Really?
these darn Pendleton blankets and avocados.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So what was the story? What were we talking
I
about?
try and enjoy life. You were talking about avocados in Finland and why they were
Haas
studying
Avocado
them.
Board.
Okay.
The Haas Avocado Board teamed up with the University of Eastern Finland to examine the relationship between maternal avocado consumption during pregnancy and allergic outcomes in infants. Findings suggest that consuming avocados during pregnancy is associated with a 43.6% lower likelihood of food allergy development in children by 12 months of age.
This sounds just like peanut allergies. The mother eats it. You have fewer allergies in the child when they're young. Maybe.
Yeah.
Is this a constant?
Well, it says here that previous studies on maternal nutrition have examined the role of sort of groups of foods, but they don't usually just focus in on one individual food item on that list. So what they did was they obtained data from the Kuopio birth cohort, and this could be a good reason for going to a Scandinavian type country to do your research. It's that whole universal healthcare kind of a thing. Collects data on a big group of people and keeps all of that data. So they had 2,272 participants that were included in their time period, and they looked at it with a 12-month follow-up period, self-reporting if they consumed avocados over a certain amount in at least one part of the trimester. And they put all that data together from that, compared the children of avocado eaters to those of non-avocado eaters.
Which they probably had a large number of non-avocado eaters in Finland.
I would kind of assume,
Yes, maybe.
if
you're gonna pick a location, yeah.
I wouldn't eat avocados there. I didn't eat avocados in Denmark. They're terrible. I don't know where they're getting like the lowest rung on the.
They're the
avocado
avocados that
grading.
they just get old. They don't actually get soft.
They go from hard to rotten, and they never taste good in between.
Yeah.
And so if they don't understand why Californians eat avocados and they're like love everything guacamole, it's because
Never had
we're
a good
getting the
avocado.
first pick, and
I
you're
certainly
getting
hope they are.
you're getting all the reject avocados in Denmark. I'm sorry, and I don't don't
Greenhouse
know for a
avocados.
fact. Finland has avocados that are the same price as they are here, even though a head of lettuce is $10. So yes, we're paying too much for avocados.
How do they do that?
But
So
I gotta
can they
digress at
freeze
some
the avocados or keep them cold until they
don't think
get to where they're
avocados
going?
freeze
I wonder
well.
how that
I've never
works.
had a frozen defrosted avocado.
Do they brown like bananas? The outside of an avocado is already too dark for me to know. I need to do an experiment. People make avocado ice cream. Tell me, have you frozen avocados? Sorry.
So anyway, they found this big hit where it looks like, if you eat avocados, you don't get food allergies. They think some of the nutrient compounds of avocados, this is speculation, but unsaturated fats, fiber, antioxidants may play a role in the immune system development. Specific biological mechanisms were not investigated. But yeah, here's the interesting side note. This study has a weird mix of transparency and lack of transparency about it. Transparency, the lead author is from the Haas Avocado Board, which defines itself as the only avocado organization that equips the entire global industry for success by collecting, focusing, and distributing investments to maintain and expand demand for avocados in the United States. they do a lot of promotional stuff for the avocado industry. Okay. They have a goal of making avocados like the most eaten thing by this year. Whatever. First two authors clearly are from the Haas Avocado Board. That's transparency.
And they should be allowed to do studies, right? You can go, and it's nice publishing it, but okay, transparent.
Nothing wrong with industry funded and industry participated research. Who else is going to be that interested in avocados? I get it. That's why, like,
Yeah.
It's one thing, a step remove would have been to just fund independent researchers to do the work. But you involve yourself. I love the transparency. You didn't go through a other type of science consulting group to then hire the researchers to do the thing. Like, I see that all the time, and that's, not transparent. Transparent. That's what I'm calling it. Mm-hmm. Okay. However, there's a competing interests section, at the end of papers where you have a competing interest or conflict of interest, and there's no disclosure. Now, do you need a disclosure because it's obvious that you're the industry promoting organization that's doing it? Yes. That's why it's there. So you can state it clearly.
It does say the Kubico study has been funded by the research committee of the Kuopo University Hospital catchment area for the state research funding and the Foundation for Pediatric Research.
But it wasn't.
And yes,
hang on. That is not this study. That is the
different study.
The study that created the data that they then used for this study. But that did not fund this study. So even that's incorrect. Even the funding for this study is incorrect. Now, whose fault is that? Yes, the researchers need to fill out those forms correctly when they send them in. However, this, and I don't know, this is a minor-ish research.
Yeah.
PDAC research isn't one of the big publishing places. However, it is published under the Springer Nature network. That's who does the publishing of this.
Mm-hmm. It's not to say all of the stuff that they do, because sometimes Nature is known for wanting to turn a profit.
So and fine, but the way you keep from blurring the lines between a commercial that you're running on behalf of a client and a study that you're publishing is in disclosures. This is an interesting outcome that they are claiming. Here's who funded it, and here's the conflicts of interest, and you decide from there. That's fine. But they didn't.
We just did an advertisement for people in Finland eating avocados while pregnant, so that their kids will not have avocado allergies if they ever go to California.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it blurs the line. I think they need to just, take this study with a pinch of salt. Also a good way to enjoy your avocados with a pinch of salt. And if it doesn't prevent a food allergy, so what?
A little lime.
It's great. It's great. It's one of my favorite foods in California. You leave California, it's not as good. I get it.
It's not going to be as good. Well, if somebody did have an issue and go into anaphylaxis if they had eaten an avocado and were having an allergic reaction, would you try to resuscitate them, Justin?
Okay. Resuscitate? So they're unsuscitated currently. They're in an unsuscitated state.
They've passed out.
And it's from a peanut allergy? You think specifically?
Or avocado? I don't know. They
avocados can do no
terrible
harm. Nobody has ever gone into avocado shock. And unless you've seen the price of them lately, then that can happen. Okay.
All right. Well,
do I resuscitate somebody who's unconscious? I would try. Yes, absolutely.
You would try. Okay. So you're a person who would try to resuscitate somebody who is fallen unconscious for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Not everybody would do that, but it's good to know you will, especially because mice would. I mean, if it's good for mice, it should be good for people. According to a study that was just published recently, researchers discovered, this was published in Science, researchers discovered, and this is something they've known for a while, that mice, they have a practice, in lots of animals actually, they get upset when other animals are unconscious or possibly dead or dying. Very often they go into actions that could be taken as or interpreted as trying to resuscitate, wake up the other animal that is unconscious. And so this group of researchers who published in Science their study, Reviving Like Prosocial Behavior in Response to Unconscious or Dead Conspecifics in Rodents. In basically what they did is they put mice in a place with mice that they had suscitated. they knocked out. They drugged them. Yeah. And they watched to see what the mice did. And what they found is that the majority of mice spent a significant amount of their time trying to help, or I mean, we're going to say help, but there is a stereotypic, what they call this is like patterned series of behaviors that happen when a mouse encounters unconscious other mice. And it's very similar. So they'll approach and sniff. Hey, oh gosh, are you okay? When that happens, oh gosh, let me clean you up a little bit. Let me groom you. So they groom the other mouse, and then they start mouth biting. Yeah, they bite the other mouth. So maybe it's like mouth to mouth resuscitation, tongue pulling, and then tongue pulling. So it goes from the approach and sniffing to grooming to mouth biting to tongue pulling. And mice who were resuscitated, and as they recovered from their situation, if they had been groomed, mouth bitten, and tongue pulled, they recovered more quickly and actually better than mice who were not assisted by other mice. And in a synchronized study that was published at the same time, they also were able to record from different neurons in the mouse brains, and they discovered that oxytocin is related to these behaviors. And oxytocin is necessary for these behaviors to take place. So in mice that did not have oxytocin become stimulated, or not as much oxytocin, they didn't go about these behaviors. It was the mice that had the oxytocin that instigated these behaviors in grooming, mouth biting, and tongue pulling to resuscitate other individuals. So they're not mouse morticians. They're more like mouse EMTs.
Paramedics.
Yeah. Little mouse-medics.
Paramedic
medic mice
in mice.
Yeah. So it's behavior. It's neurally, it's stereotypic, which means this is a patterned response, which is interesting. So it's like it's like your cat cleaning themselves. They go through a very patterned way of doing that. But it's like it has to be initiated in a certain way for it to take place. And not all mice are going to necessarily do this behavior, but a majority of them do. Face licking, mouth biting, and tongue pulling.
Yeah. It's also interesting that they tested they tried to test sort of how the mice knew that the other one was unconscious. And one of the things they did is they blinded them, or they did it in darkness. They got rid of the visual cues that the mouse.
Oh, so did you look at this?
To recognize that the other mouse was in trouble.
Yeah, mice spent an average of 47% of the 13-minute test interacting with an unconscious partner. So over 50% of the mice ended up pulling at the tongues of other mice that were unconscious. So, that is something maybe we might incorporate into our EMT paramedic training, CPR, mouth biting and tongue pulling. We're going to move on from the mouse medics into a little bit of talk about talk. talk about vocalizations. Some review of genomic studies was published in the Frontiers magazines, Frontiers in Psychology. Researchers looking at a whole bunch of different studies comparing the genomics of vocalization genes, looking at basically when did humans get the ability to talk. These researchers, based on all the evidence, put it together that linguistic capacity was present. That doesn't mean that this is when it started, but the capacity was present in Homo sapiens 135,000 years ago. That means all of the genes were in place. Everything was ready to go. Homo sapiens were probably talking at that point in time, but there's also the question of how far before that and what was necessary to, did it get started with more conceptual, artistic communication and then develop into language? And because it was there, it allowed the development of language to take place. But 135,000 years ago is about halfway or so to when we think that humans really got our start as modern humans over 200,000 years ago.
And I would definitely argue it's great that they've pushed it back that far. I'm 100% sure that it's going to go back a million years.
Probably, yeah, much further.
It's going to go back. Homo erectus was passing on the same tool techniques for a million years.
So it's like the capacity, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of knowledge transfer isn't just going to be show and tell over and over and again. There's going to be... All right, I'm not going to do this over and over again for everybody. Everybody sit down. I'm going to tell you how it's done. I got this cave wall here. I'm going to put a diagram up here.
My library, my museum.
Yeah.
So the question is, all right, what had to be present? What genes had to be there, ready, so that humans could begin to vocalize? One particular gene that researchers have homed in on is a gene called NOVA1. And so NOVA1 is a neuronal RNA binding protein. So this NOVA1, when it gets translated, it goes it's in the central nervous system and it binds RNA in neurons. And this NOVA1 is essential for mouse survival in development. This is an essential gene, essential protein. There's one version of it, a single amino acid change at I197V. This is 197V. This amino acid change in the NOVA1 second RNA binding domain. This is unique to modern humans. So these researchers who just published in Nature, they published their work on a humanized NOVA1 splicing factor alters mouse vocal communications. So these researchers put this humanized...
They made talking mice?
Well, they're not talking.
They made talking mice?
So, kind of. Seriously, this is not the rats of Nim, but we're getting there. All right, so they found that it didn't have any real effect on the normal RNA binding capacity as it related to development or motor function. So all of that stuff was still the same, but how it...
And Blair's not here, but I can still hear the voice of Blair. Mice talk all the time, Justin. You just aren't listening.
There, thank you for doing yes. But they talked more. It led to changes in splicing in vocally related areas of the genome. So there were multiple binding peaks in mouse brain transcripts involved in vocalization. They also found similar, related, associated patterns of behavioral changes. Vocalization patterns in pups were different. So they've come up with a number of letters that mice squeak So they have the letters S, D, U, and M. And the different mice had kind of it was like they were like, I don't like D, it's going to be P. They changed the way they spoke. They changed their letters. They're different from the wild type mice. And then as they grew up and when they got to the age to reproduce and start mating behaviors, their songs were different.
Started podcasts.
That basically, they had more complex and high frequency songs. So they said more things. They put more stuff into what they were saying to potential mates. Don't know if that's good or bad, but they spoke differently than other mice, which is pretty amazing.
Wow.
It's all from one gene. And yeah, we don't know exactly. It's because we don't know what the mice were saying to begin with. But now we know that you put a human gene in there for vocalization and it changes the way that the mice speak and it changes their brains.
One of those things that always sort of bothers me. We come up with this language model technology just to figure out what other humans are saying. Mm-hmm. That's pointless.
Animals.
We should be applying this to mouse language.
Yes.
We need a mouse translator. We have all these research mice. Gosh knows what they've discovered by now. We could be learning from them.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Maybe we can be. We probably can be. But this is, the realization that this humanized single amino acid change in this one protein, which is, it's a conserved protein, and it's one big difference in what led to modern humans. And it is related to vocalizations. It changed vocalizations in these mice. It implies that this particular gene has impacts on the connections related to cognitive processing and vocalization. Perhaps it's not even that. Maybe it is not cognitive processing. Maybe it is, I can now do a whole bunch of mouth movements and make a bunch of sounds that normally I would have not done. My brain would have stopped me and filtered them out. And maybe now this new protein changes the way the filter works.
So it's changing the thinking about vocalization.
Well, that's what we don't know. We just know the output. We know there were changes in the
ability,
we know there were changes.
structural.
Yeah, we know there were changes in the vocalizations. The mice had new letters, and then they talked. They had a different language. They spoke differently.
Were they more successful at dating?
That's what I don't know. That's what we need to talk about.
Did they tell funny jokes and get more attention from the other mice, or was it just were they ignored because they had a weird accent?
Oh, poor little mice. I don't think that they were ignored. I have no idea. I think this is very interesting.
Outcomes. We need to know what those outcomes are.
No more outcomes. Yeah.
Picking a
How did it
different
change things?
It's fine if it's got a punchline. If it's important to the joke. Otherwise, it could be a little off-putting.
We just know that it changed the way that the mice behave. So this is something that's really interesting as we get into the last study, which is related to how birds talk to each other. It's the evolutionary factors that are involved in determining what is successful in language and what stays in a language to make it language or not, right? So, you might say a bunch of stuff, but if nobody wants to listen to you, or if, what you say is not attractive to a potential mate, you're not going to procreate. You're not going to go on and be successful if you can't, keep a job, I don't know, putting seeds in trees or whatever.
Is that a job?
For a bird or a mouse.
Oh, if you're a bird. I got you now. So, yeah, because as I'm thinking in terms of human-y context.
Right.
It's the social environment totally determines what language matters and what doesn't anyway. And otherwise there'd be like.
And you made that comparison, which brought me to this, which is, okay, was were the mating calls of these, different mice, were they successful? And I don't know, but and that is a huge factor. So in this particular study, where out of the University of Oxford, researchers have published in Current Biology this last week their work on an analysis of over 100,000 bird songs, 20,000 hours of song recordings from a wild population of Paris major great tits. This population is one that has been an ongoing study, the Wytham Great Tit Study, in Wytham Woods for 75 years, over 75 years. And it's pretty amazing. This area of woods was deeded to the university after a family had a daughter who died and loved birds and nature and research. And so the family said, here, you take this land, and in our daughter's name, you can only, allow very special students, the right students, to use it, and only ever use it for the, scientific research.
Oh, wow.
To study. And so for 75 years, they have had this basically a wild land being conserved to be able to do research on the animals and birds, everything, the nature that is there. And so scientists have had this study of the Wytham tits in Wytham Woods. And it's really, really wonderful. They have some videos on their website. If you go to wythamtits.com, you can find out all about the woods and the project and what they are learning there, why they're studying the birds in the first place. There's a video David Attenborough had done. You might have seen it in one of his past documentaries about how they time their how they manage their incubation so that all of their eggs hatch at the right time when there's food available, so that they have less nest mortality. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. I've never been there, and now I really want to go there. It looks beautiful. It is acres. This is a huge area of land. And the researchers have basically, they've radio microchipped a bunch of the birds. And so they're able to identify the birds, identify the songs that are being sung. They're also using large language models to be able to do correlations to identify individuals based on their songs. The birds themselves, which this is what I think is really great, they don't just sing one song. They can sing up to like 10 songs. And the birds, they haven't figured out their songs by the time they leave their nest. And so they're born in the spring to early summer. They leave the nest. They're just around their parents and their neighbors for a couple of months. And they're like, I'm the baby. I'm going to figure stuff out. And they're going, and they don't have a song. They have just like what they call a plastic song. But they've been listening to other birds, and they're kind of paying attention to what's going on, and they're practicing and playing with things. Their neighborhood has a dialect. It would be like a particular, like a particular like Jersey accent, or, each neighborhood within this forest has a different accent. And so they grew up around that accent. And then they're like, Mom, Dad, I grew up. I got to go. And so in the fall, they go and they take off and they disperse. And some birds stay very close to home. And other birds, much fewer of them, but others will go up to a kilometer away through these woods. And so the ones that go much further away, of course, they're going to end up in places that have a very different dialect to their own, but they're going to have traveled through a bunch of spaces and be exposed to a whole bunch of different songs on their way to the place where they end up. Wherever they end up, it's usually they've been exposed to a whole bunch of different songs. They've got a bunch of different ideas in their head, but really what's called song crystallization, the accent that they have, doesn't get tied into their brain and the way that they talk, the way that they sing, until mating season in the spring. And so it's usually as they get older and get into making territory and then singing their full song for the first time, that's when they're putting their song together. So you have dispersal, which is a big force, leaving the area taking what you know and what you've learned to someplace else. So you've got new ideas, new dialects, and you're taking them someplace else. But you're also going to be influenced by what is in that place to begin with. And they discovered, listening to all these songs and identifying them based on the individual and what was happening, that older individuals were like librarians, were like the old language reserves. And so there was a very wide difference between the languages spoken by the older individuals in a certain neighborhood versus younger. But the younger individuals, even though they brought in kind of new ideas, they would lead to kind of the dialect change in the neighborhood over time. But they were always influenced because of mating factors and needing to fit in, because you can't sing a song that nobody responds to. So you have to sing a song that fits in the neighborhood. So you can be different, but not too different. So they've really been able to nail down a whole bunch of these factors very specifically to these individual birds. And the demographic, basically their paper is called The Demographic Drivers of Cultural Evolution in Birdsong. And I think it's very interesting because of the different factors in specifically how this species learns its songs and how it lives in different spaces, and how its society is built. And I imagine that similar birds and also similar species, maybe like mice or whatever, you're going to have similar impacts, right? You have, whatever the status quo is in the place where you are, but then you're always going to have change brought by new factors that come into the place. And there's going to be a push and a pull between the two of them constantly to create a very dynamic ecosystem. Anyway, I really liked this study. Cool. I think it's really cool, and I like great tits. And I cannot lie. But it really is not very often where you have this kind of an opportunity for scientists to be able to track individuals over space and time, generations, to be able to really understand a lot about these kinds of factors, cultural factors, right? This is seriously cultural factors in birds. I never thought that this kind of a study would be possible. It's pretty amazing. And it is possible because of technology, large language models, large learning language models, and the persistence of a deeded tract of land to researchers to use. But yeah. Anyway, I was trying to think about between the mice with the new vocabulary, kind of like the new birds coming into an area. How successful would that be?
Yeah, there could be something to the novelty factor. Mm-hmm. And it could seem like, also a risky factor.
It would be risky.
If you don't know how successful a population that sounds like that has been, my goodness.
My goodness. Have we done it?
I think we have. Do we get to the end of another hour?
We'll make it.
Or so of programming?
Have we made it? I think so. Have we leapfrogged and dispersed from our first story to our last?
I think so.
How similar is our knowledge now? I'm sure I've gone through several accents since the beginning of the show tonight. And I know that there is a great distance between the knowledge I had and the thoughts in my head, the connections in my brain when I started the show and where I am now. Yeah. Thanks to you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of This Week in Science. It is that time of the show where I love to say thank you to those people who helped make this show possible. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. I mean, honestly, it's so fantastic to be able to look at the chat and see everybody there chatting, talking. And we're talking to you and you're talking to us and we're all here together. Thank you for being here. Gord, Arnlore, others who helped to keep the chat room a civil, compassionate, respectful place. Thank you for being there. Thank you, all of you, for just being those people to begin with. Thank you to Fada. Yeah, thank you to Fada for helping with social media and show notes. Really can't get the word out about what we do without you. That's so helpful. Identity 4, thank you for recording the show. Rachel, thank you so much for editing the show. And to all of our Patreon sponsors, I have to say thank you. But thank you so much, mostly to Robert W. Farley, Lauren Gifford, Dana Lewis, Eden Mundell, Alan Viola, Aaron Anathema, Arthur Kepler, Craig Potts, Mary Gertz, Teresa Smith, Richard Badge, Bob Coles, Kent Northcote, George Corris, Pierre Velazarb, John Ratnaswamy, Chris Wozniak, Vegard Shefstad, Jonathan Styles, a.k.a. Don Stylo, Ali Coffin, Shubrew, Sarah Forfar, Don Mundus, PIG, Steve, and Alberon, Daryl Myshak, Andrew Swanson, Fredus 104, Sky Luke, Paul Ronovich, Kevin Reardon, Noodles, Jack, Brian Carrington, David E. Youngblood, Sean Clarence Lamb, John McKee, Greg Riley, Mark Hessenflow, Steve Leeson, a.k.a. Z. McKen, Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Brappen, Richard Brendan, Minish, Johnny Gradley, Remy Day, G. Burton Lattimore, Flying Out, Christopher Dreyer, RDM, Greg Biggs, John Atwood, Rudy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul Phillips, Shane Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Sue Doster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Eric Knapp, Lon Makes, E.O., Adam Mishkan, Kevin Parachan, Aaron Luthen, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul Disney, Patrick Pecoraro, and Tony Steele. Thank you all for all of your support of TWIS. And if any of you out there would like to join them in this list that I read at the end of the show, or in any way through our Patreon community, head over to twis.org and click on that Patreon link. On next week's show,
we'll be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, broadcasting from all of our different types of channels. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, wherever they are. Wherever the signal goes.
Wherever it is. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, just look for This Week in Science, wherever podcasts are found. And if you enjoyed the show, just subscribe your friends to it for them. They'll enjoy it. Thank you.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes and links to the stories will be available on our website, www.twis.org, where you can also be sure not to get signed up for any newsletters, which is always a comforting thing.
But you could get signed up for a newsletter, and it will surprise you one day in your inbox if it were to show up.
It's so random.
We do love your feedback.
Once decadal newsletter. There's no newsletter. Are you just data mining people, Kiki? Because I've never seen this newsletter.
You think I'm that put together? Oh, my goodness. If there's a topic that you would like us to cover or address, or a suggestion for an interview, please let us know on one of the social media accounts, or just send us an email. It's probably the best one. Put TWIS in the subject line so your email doesn't get spam filtered into the mouth of an unsuscitated mouse, because I'm not going in there for the tongue pulling.
We are looking forward to discussing science with you again next week. And if you have learned anything from this show, remember,
it's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This week in science, science, science. This week in science, this week in science. This week in science, 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 science. I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just understand.
And it's done. You may just understand. Oh, it's the after show. I don't know how late this after show will go. I don't know where Justin is now. Thank you all for joining us. Oh, lost algorithm. That's a cute little thing, little emoji over there on Twitch. Good to see you over there. You dancing dragons, everyone. Yay! Thank you all for joining us for another episode of this program. I do love that that mice like to help each other out like this. I know that Blair has talked about rats doing that or similar behaviors on several occasions. So to me, that was wonderful to find this for. Did he just leave without saying goodbye? He did. He's gone now. What happened? The internet does not like him or me, I guess. Maybe he's on a timer for the internet. We'll have to find out what happened. If he's coming back to say goodnight, or if that was it. He did look slightly concerned at the end of the show, but I don't know if that's because it was going longer than he expected it to. I'm not really sure because I don't know if he ever does expect it to go a particular length. But, oh boy, how is everyone today? Thank you, Pepsi Cola. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Oh, yes. Paul Disney, the internet is wrong. The internet is made of cats. That's why it's wrong. Because it's playing with a ball of string always. Mice are evolving into meat-eating hunters in New York City. John Hogan, I'm going to have to look into that. I mean, parakeets? There's like infanticide and meat eating in the parakeet world, so mice, yeah, there's blood and gore across the animal kingdom. We can't think of any of them at being just nice and cute and never bloody. Boy, a somewhat tight 1 whole 4 minutes. It would have been tighter if I hadn't talked about the library and if Justin hadn't put on a coat and disappeared at one point in time. Because then I had to, just talk for a little bit. I feel like he's not coming back. It would have been nice to get a good night as opposed to, and I'm gone. That's funny. What did I do, Justin? I'm texting him right now. Is he coming back? Pigeons? Oh, the mice catch live pigeons. Well, there are lots of pigeons out there. I know. Did he ghost me? I mean, is this like I got co-ghosted instead of co-hosted? Co-ghosted? Jeez. Maybe he'll text me and say, this is what's going on and this is what's happening. I did. I think we lost connection. He says, I think we lost connection. I'm going to say, you didn't lose connection on purpose. Huh? Oh, he said he rejoined, but it looks like it's over. Interesting. Huh. No! Yeah. Nope, he's not. It's not over, but apparently it's not letting him back in. Okay, so we are learning about limitations to StreamYard at this point in time. I don't know why. Don't know why there would be limitations. Why would there be limitations, huh? Stepped away and it was on the oops screen. Oh, I see him. Go away.
Everything is under control.
It is. He was just in a tunnel. That's right. He was you just go away and hold your breath for a while.
Everything is under control.
Yeah, it was fine, and then you just disappeared and didn't come back.
I think the connection's been a little iffy in this end throughout the show.
It has been.
Actually. So
yeah. Good night, Fada.
I might not be in the best location.
Co-ghosted. It was.
Co-ghosted.
I said instead of having a co-host, I had a co-ghost all of a sudden.
Oh gosh. Oh no, I'm still here.
Yeah. No,
I'm still trying to.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Do you just have to leave and you can say goodbye and then whatever? Or
no, I would have said. Obviously, I would have said something.
I figured. I was like, okay, all right. What else?
No.
Now I'm gonna hang up. No. Okay. What were you saying?
So, I'm still. I don't know if I'm still wondering about the federal government math. Like,
is it breaking things? The math is good.
So here's the thing. There's two things that are driving this destruction of federal government.
Compromat and
one is actually there's probably three. There's probably a very big interest in destabilizing the federal government of the United States by foreign enemies. Sure.
Yeah.
Also, there's a wealth class in the United States that doesn't like to pay taxes, and the best way that they can see to do that is dismantle the thing that they're paying the taxes to. The third thing that's driving this is going to be state governments, and largely what we refer to on the coast as flyover states, because why would you go there? Mm-hmm. That want complete and total control of their mini fiefdom. They're sitting on top of a state that has a population smaller than a large metropolitan city, but they're the number one person in charge in that little world that they have managed to climb to the top of. And they want ultimate control over that, which means less regulation and control from a federal government, which includes things like a Department of Education, which controls largely how education operates.
Yep.
They want
education standards? Who needs that?
The thing that is, of course, puzzling is that I don't think that I've seen any examples of how they replace them on those local levels. You still have to have school systems. You still have to have an education system of some sort. Or maybe you don't. And maybe that's the point, is that they don't want education for the people in their mini fiefdom.
If you get rid of education, you get rid of knowledge, you get rid of ways to understand the knowledge and put it to use and to ask questions, then you maintain control and power, and you don't have to pay taxes.
We got to get rid of those hotbeds of critical thinking. University hotbeds of critical thinking.
Yeah. I just started thinking it was like one of those clubs in San Francisco or Miami where it's like bed and they're hot beds. And instead of watching dancers and stuff, it's like they're hot beds and people are sitting around critically thinking. It's the best club ever. Except I don't know. I bet the beds would be too sweaty. Ugh, gross.
So then like you're going to see tanking economies, and you're already starting to see like farmers waking up to the fact that like, hey, wait, actually, these
where are my
tariffs
subsidies?
and the lack of subsidies
What's
and the
going
lack
on?
like, This is how the predictability of the weather is one thing, which you got rid of the department that tells us that, and also the department, the predictability of futures, because nobody buys the actual food as it's made. It's purchased well in advance. Like all of these systems that are involved require some predictability. Okay. The thing that also is just astounding to me is like, why bother? Obviously, you've already convinced the local population through local media that the thing that's in their worst interest is the thing that they should be cheering for, and they are. They voted for you. The amount of, if you look at how the statistics on people who dislike government is much higher in states that have been red states for a very long time,
where the government has not necessarily been doing the things that worked.
Why are you
help them
cheering on and voting for the same government when you don't like government? Oh, it's that federal government, because that's what they keep telling us is to blame. That has very little negative and a whole lot of positive impact.
Why do you want those big fuddy-duddies over in Washington, D.C. telling you what to do? We need to have our little fuddy-duddies here just telling you what to do.
So good. You're like, I can hear your hometown. Like loud and clear. I'm like, yeah, I know those people.
Yeah. You want to write down? Yeah, no, you know.
There was a lady who sounded just like that, taught me how to shoot when I was 7 years old. Yeah.
Now you just put your hand right there to make sure you put your feet apart right there. You know, you don't want to fall over and get a little kickback in your shoulder and knock you over.
Nearly took my wrist off.
You gotta watch for that kickback, man. You know,
gotta always be ready.
You gotta be ready. Yes, everyone should know how to use a firearm safely, appropriately.
It's like going to end badly.
Tiny knives
for people who are pushing for it, who are celebrating right now, as the things that they didn't realize they were relying on get dismantled.
They didn't realize they were relying on them, but then suddenly they will become apparent and they'll go where to go. Recently on social media and on the regular big media, the number of people complaining about tigers eating their faces is growing. And I see a large number of people trying to figure out whether they should have sympathy for the people who are now complaining of the tigers eating their faces. I think we should always have compassion. And when people come to learn something or understand something that they did not understand previously or did not, not want to understand previously, that still is learning and it's still understanding. It's coming to a different view. There are all sorts of psychological mechanisms at play when it comes to our worldviews. And so I think we can be angry. We can be like, man, you did that. But we can also have compassion. I mean, they're going to have to live without a face. Because a tiger ate it.
It's overrated. But you have a great story to tell. Hey, how'd that happen? Oh, you won't believe it.
You won't believe it. I never thought that the tiger was going to eat my face. I walked right up. Tiger ate my face. Who knew? I mean, I said, hey, tiger, you going to eat my face? Tiger said, no, of course I'm not going to eat. I'm going to eat his face. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm going to eat your face. No, you
Physics
won't.
Police
You're lying.
Says they'll send them all to private children's school to get indoctrination. Yeah. So you're going to see privatization of a lot of these things. And that is also another goal because that's a huge wealth building thing now.
You can't privatize everything, though. There's a reason that we have made things public in nature, that there's public funding for certain common goods. The weather models, the climate models that are being used, those were developed using mostly taxpayer money in research institutions and in these government institutions that have been funded by taxpayer money. And private companies use them, but they wouldn't have them, and they're not going to get better. It took public funding to create the climate models that are used to give you your weather forecasts, right? Even though weather.com or a private company is offering you, AccuWeather, whatever it is offering you your weather forecast, they are using publicly developed climate models.
Yeah.
What are we going to do about public health? Oh, yeah, no, we're not talking about that anymore, right?
Oh, we are. We are. And I got bad news for you. So you
Is
know,
there any good news?
Okay. You know, if
Mouse Medics, that's my Mouse Medics.
if you went around, like, if it was opposite day, every day, only you were the head of health department and for an entire nation.
No.
That's what it's gonna look like. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. California is where I am. I think California needs to step up into its new role as a nation state, which all of the states are now nation states, essentially. Without a federal government, every state goes back to, feudalistic nation state arguments about borders between states and everything else and having their own militias. And California needs to start creating some space for all of these scientists.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Well, I mean, it's a very interesting point. The University of California system is one of the largest and it's an amazing scientific research infrastructure system. A lot of it federally funded, however. So how do you get the private money? How do you get the money to stay for research funding to continue to fund the universities, all of the work that California has advanced in so many research areas? I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that works. California, it's been like the fifth, sixth largest economy in the world, just on its own as a state. A lot of that is agriculture, yeah. But as water becomes scarce and there's fires, there are a lot of questions as to how that's going to hit the economy and how climate change is going to impact California. That's why California needs to make Cascadia partnerships with Oregon and Washington, so that there's a coastal agreement of technology, knowledge, research, agriculture funding. I think that would be pretty good.
So
we'll make friends. The whole West Coast. We're all going to be friends. It's going to be great.
So if California has scientists working, are we still obligated to fight diseases in those other states?
No, but it's
or do we just let that experiment run?
No, it would be like when you send to other countries your aid programs.
Foreign aid.
It's foreign aid. You do support those other countries because you maintain the good relationships between yourself and their people so that you can have, positive trade and not war. Right? This is why you do these things, to keep everybody healthy and happy and, keep these other nation states out of economic troubles and political, cultural upheaval that would turn them into the potential kind of place that would be more prone to terrorism or, governmental overthrow.
So have you ever heard of something called pork barrel spending?
Never. Yes, I have.
So this is that concept, right?
Fatty.
Where
it's extra.
the senator from here, the congressperson from there, votes for some project that we might not really have needed, but brings a lot of money into their local community. Okay.
Challenger.
So I haven't heard any talk really about
the
we're just getting rid
F-15
of
or 35.
we're just getting rid of taxes. Maybe that they still expect everybody to pay federal taxes, even without federal government buildings or people doing work, and instead earmark that money for fiefdom private schools, fiefdom private prisons, fiefdom
So what is the
private
legal
projects.
I don't know. I need to talk to lawyers. What is the legal precedent for at what point when the government is not upholding its end of the bargain, is it okay to not pay the taxes? I mean, it has to be everybody or a large proportion of people not paying the tax. I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
I mean,
I'm
what
not
would you be
recommending
paying?
anything. I'm just exploring.
No, but my question is,
I support
that
taxes for the common good. I want to pay my fair share.
So the last part of that, the taxes didn't go
The
away.
common good.
The things that we know it is all spent on
Yes, Laura
are
D,
going
like
away.
USAID.
So somewhere there's somebody planning to spend that money. In fact, this budget proposal that they just pushed forward includes funding for organizations that now no longer exist. That money is still collected. That money can still be spent, but on what? And by whose decision? I mean, talk about looting. Talk about the biggest grift imaginable. We may still be expected to pay taxes. And for what?
For what?
For what?
Yeah. I mean, if they get rid of all the things that I think taxes should be good for, like, or that a lot of people think taxes should be good for, like
that Congress has and generations have built and contributed to for specific causes and goals with mission statements to evacuous, we don't know.
There was there was a study that just came out this last week. I have to remember where it was. I think I put it. I think I have the reference. This particular study, researchers were looking at. I think it was out of Notre Dame, and they were doing work out of Poland, looking at people and their belief about democracy and how they believe a democracy works. Like, and so whether or not they have a belief in more liberal democracy, or whether they kind of don't care. And there's another term called majoritarian, where it's democracy, but there's somebody in charge, and that's fine. And so I mean, they didn't go into it, but I honestly think it has to do with the removal of education into civics and the understanding through that generational knowledge of the government is yours, right? And so the researchers in this particular study, they said that in their 10 different groups that they looked at in Poland, that the people who were more prone to believing in a liberal democracy and the things that includes, which is, like healthcare and things that are good for the people and people getting the right to vote and politicians doing, the will of the people, much more likely to, vote people out of office, to work to get people censured for doing bad things, right? Versus people who have come to believe that they are not really part of the government, that somebody else is taking care of it. Like, really, they've been disenfranchised. Like, they don't really care whether or not they're disenfranchised. That they don't really understand. They've come to not really understand really what a democracy is, and they're more likely to not be bothered by criminal acts or by acts that do not go along with following the will of the people by politicians that have been elected. they're much more prone to elect authoritarian regimes. And so the researchers suggest that an undereducated or a populace that does not have the ability to really comprehend the purpose of a liberal democracy is prone to sliding into authoritarianism. Because if there's a majority of the populace who just, they don't care, they're going to be bought and sold and talked into stuff and just vote party line or whatever.
So I will also say that this is also going to be reflected in leadership. So I mentioned all the fiefdoms across the 50 states, and congressional districts and governorships and Senate districts. These are very, very much like mini fiefdoms, and they are very authoritarian in terms of what you need to do or who you need to be connected to get anywhere in those political markets. There is built into that system leaders who are used to being in an authoritarian system where you do what the strongman says, who might be the governor or your lieutenant or whoever it is you needed to work. And that's, I think, partly why you're not seeing any resistance from a big part of the country, because they're used to working their way up through a mini fiefdom where whatever the law is, it's the will of that leader, that governor, that can kind of get past what the legal thing is.
This is the British Journal of Political Science, where this the demand side of democratic backsliding, how divergent understandings of democracy shape political choice. Anyway, I thought it was a very interesting paper. I scanned through it today, and I'm going to put it in the chat. Where did he go? He didn't. I wasn't looking. He ran away again. Let's see if it left. Yeah, there we go. Oh boy, YouTube, you really broke that one up. That's funny. Interesting. I don't know why there's that hashtag.
But that's why we're also seeing such feckless leadership. And you're also, like somebody pointed out, I'm sorry, I was a ways back, that there hasn't been a lot of outcry from the heads of universities. They're sort of stuck right now and still thinking that they can receive funding to keep their university open if they don't protest this.
They're not going to. It's not going to happen.
That there will still be spending that takes place at some point.
This is the tariffs with Canada and Mexico. It's like we're going to put 25% tariffs. Oh, wait, no. I'll take them away for 2 months. Only 2 months. But we're going to do this again. Look at this lever I have to pull on you. It's a power play. And
for who? Like that benefits
not
nobody.
For the university. No.
So and then we got feckless leaders on the left.
That's a great word. Thank you for using that.
Refusing to use what little power they have to resist this, apparently.
I can't even. It's because they do not know how to politically, because you can't politically, they do not know how to combat, how to stand up to a TV show. They do not know how to stand up to people who lie, to people who they don't know how to stand up to this post-truth regime.
Look, they're just bad at math. Like Hillary Clinton ran a campaign on nothing. She literally ran with nothing other than look who I'm up against. She ran on nothing. It was ridiculous. Kamala, I thought, was ran a great campaign, but again, like they had 20 years of hit pieces on Hillary to destroy her ahead of
we knew they were
before an electorate.
Right. TV shows.
Kamala, the problem with running your vice president, and I get it, they're the vice president, but they came in like 5th when it was primaries, and they're on the heels of an administration that's been under attack for 4 years. So again, you need fresh face, and you need and she's a fighter, and I voted for her, which is not as opposed to voting against the other person for the very first time in a long time.
It was the last week or two of the campaign. Honestly, there were some super misjudgments and missteps there as to what they should do, and they backed off when they should have pushed the freaking pedal to the metal, lady.
And they're bringing out, like, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
We just Henry Kissinger just endorsed it. Like, what? Oh, Dick Cheney's all on our side now. Like, that's not. Who are you? Who is giving you this advice? It's a consultant class that needs to be the first ones out the door. That entire Washington D.C. left consultant class. All of those jobs are the ones that need to go.
Isn't this the drain the swamp thing?
They're getting paid, and they're getting it wrong.
Well, yeah.
No, this isn't lobbyists. This is the DNC strategists that they pay millions of dollars to, who
strategy?
Absolutely, phone it in.
Strategy to uphold the status quo.
They're just being told things that they want to hear to whoever happens to be pulling those purse strings at the time, and not looking at what's going on the ground or listening.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're going to be doing studies. Yeah, we're going to be doing studies of this for years to come. People are going to look at the decline. What happened? It'll be like,
oh gosh, is this
of studies?
No, I've watched that. It's a podcast called, I think, Fall of Civilizations. Yeah. It's great. I hope I'm getting the name right. But it's like really an amazing podcast. I love listening to it. And maybe that's what they're going to like. The piano music is going to play. Dun, 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 whatever it is. And then it's like, America. Podcast. The last days.
Oh, there you are. Oh, I see this person. Fall of Civilizations podcast. Nabateans. Is Fall of Civilizations podcast good? Excellent. Good long form, well thought out episodes. Love it.
Yeah.
Check it out.
It's really good. It's like my favorite.
Paul Cooper, podcaster.
So yeah, Bernie, like look at Bernie. Bernie's still drawing crowds. Bernie is still going out and fighting. Where's the rest?
Well, the strategic left, they have to allow a certain number of actual progressives into the mix so it doesn't look like they're just keeping everybody out.
I don't think they let him into the mix. I think they fought tooth and nail to keep him out of the mix.
That's exactly it. Yeah, they're trying. They're trying.
No, it's like the Chuck
and
Schumer's
AOC keeps speaking the truth to power these days. I love what she has to say.
She is. She's good. But like Chuck Schumer is
honestly
like got some Wall Street consultant group propaganda in his ear, like, just to maintain the norms for a little while longer, tell people not to evacuate the sinking ship. Tell them everything's fine. Like, he's gone. By the way, he's gone. He's going to be gone.
Be out.
As head of leadership.
Need to know confidence that.
I think in the next week or two, you will see his exit because completely misread. Has completely misread the room.
Oh, yeah, we're just going to, we got to reach across the aisle still. No. Anyway.
Yeah, like, not putting up any fight.
I wonder what, now I'm going to have to watch I'm going to be listening to the Fall of Civilization, the Mongols, Terror of the Steppe. I love the stories about Mongols.
So they're really, really well researched. I don't know what number he's up to, if it's even gotten to 20 yet, because they're
21.
So good. Oh, nice. And it's like
there's a book.
Very very soothing voice.
Ooh, he's on Blue Sky. I'm gonna be his friend.
Very very good narration voice. Like you could fall asleep to some of it.
But I don't want to fall asleep. I want to
I
hear
know,
the story.
but you try to stay awake, but then it's so soothing that you're like, oh, I'll finish this up again tomorrow.
Let's see, episode 19.
And then it enters your dreams, and suddenly you're there riding with Genghis Khan, and you're like, how did this happen? Oh, I fell asleep to that podcast. Well, this is fun. Woo! And then
he looks so nice. He looks like such a nice guy. Nice person, this Paul Cooper.
We should call up Paul Cooper and have him see if he'll come on the show and talk about the fall of civilization. Have you ever thought of doing one in real time?
Let's talk about science and the fall of the civilization.
Can we talk about
the rest?
Can we talk about this one now, or is it too soon? Like, how far do we have to fall before we can be on your show?
Okay, the rest is history. I got excited about Tom Holland, but it's not Spider-Man. Tom Holland and Dominic Sandbrook. It says it's the world's most popular history podcast. Is that true? That's great. I'm going to have to check that one out. Historian, author Dominic Sandbrook, and popular historian Tom Holland. Thank you for that. And now I'm going to have tabs open. Thank you for that, Eric. Yeah. I also really like...
I didn't know about the Mongols one. Is that a new one? Is that 21?
19, maybe.
19.
The other.
Okay. I don't think I heard that one.
Yeah, Spotify's still on it. It says 21 episodes on Google, but you know how Google's AI makes things up. So it's probably just 19.
So I do things on the YouTubes.
Yeah, you can do things you can do it on the YouTubes. You can do it on the YouTube. You can do it on the floor. You can come on, babe.
Yeah, Mongols is 19. I have not I didn't even know I had a new one. Look at that.
History.
I'm very excited.
All night.
Oh, the Sumerians at one. It's episode 8. That's a really good one.
Hey, babe, you want a history? History tonight.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad we talked about that.
Yeah,
where were we?
I love.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
The fall of our civilization.
I really do enjoy now. When I was younger, it's like right now Kai is in this stage where he doesn't have a good science teacher, and he comes home and he loves science. He's so good at learning about different things in science. He's so into learning and ideas. He comes and he's like, I'm not good at science and he's not interested in science, really, what he thinks of as science because of school, which is making me very upset. I do, as you would imagine. Like, what do you mean you're not good at science? You're amazing at science. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, oh, okay, no, you're just not good at following all the instructions that the teacher wants you to do. That doesn't mean that you're not good at science. Anyway, kind of like that when I was growing up for history. Never really had a good history teacher, right? And we didn't have these amazing podcasts and stories growing up. And I never had history told as a story when I was growing up. So I never really got into history until I was older. And so now I do really, really love hearing it told, and like the conversations and the stories that can be told, and then the parallels that can be drawn from that, and you do really start to understand. Teacher. Yeah.
I had a few good history teachers actually in the Davis school system that really brought it to like a visceral life. The stories that were personal stories that were going on at the times, and the ramifications of these events that sometimes happened between individuals that then turned into we have a democracy instead of a republic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice.
Honestly, how could Hamilton have been such a popular musical and then we let this happen? Come on.
Well,
Hamilton, one of the founders of our country. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's part of the problem is
people don't like musical theater.
Well, I'm not saying that it doesn't appeal to everybody, but it doesn't appeal to everybody. I thought that musical was amazing. I thought it was fantastic.
And even people who don't like musicals, you can like Hamilton. It's okay. And
I'm not like, are they going to sing again? They just did that. But it's really well done. Okay. Now, like here's one of the things, like I kept hearing, like, it's like, finally, you hear this in the trolls. Finally, my tax dollars aren't going to go to these nameless bureaucrats. It's like, your tax dollars are still going. Now you have no idea what they're being spent
you don't know what. No, you do. They're only being spent on that. DOD. DOD.
No, I don't even see that would have been the playbook that you're still looking at.
It's not even that.
From 20 years ago. That was the neocon agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one,
let's give all the money to the contractors.
It's the same playbook that, you destroy a country's infrastructure with shock and awe, and then you pretend to put in a new government. That part hasn't changed. That's still the right-wing plan. Only that's no longer their foreign policy. That's now their domestic policy.
You're not supposed to do that in your own country. It's supposed to be
We've been doing it for years, but it's always been over there, so we didn't really, care or notice as much.
To make sure.
But this plan, I think they might go like, Department of Defense, we're spending too much money there. We could cut that. They don't want, but what we need is border protection. So we need military from all militias in every state that are working like military in their domestic territories to enforce whatever policy. Green cards don't matter, apparently. Asylum doesn't matter anymore.
Asylum, green cards, permanent citizenship,
permanent
residency.
How much longer until, like, how much longer before they, like, it's not permanent citizenship?
Oh, you were born here? I mean, like, generations of your family born here? Yeah, whatever.
Citizenship is a privilege, not a right. What are you talking about?
I mean, and seriously, Canada and Greenland would be so honored to be states. They really should join us. So it'd be really good. No.
Oh, hey, I know how to save all that money you just think you saved. Put the taxes back where they were 30 years ago, and there's all that money that you were trying to get.
They were high taxes.
Easy.
But
put it back, taxes on the rich people that you took away, and then we don't have to get rid of all of the things that serve everybody else. Could have been one way you did it. I don't know why they didn't choose that path.
They can be rich and use libraries too. It's okay. You can use a library. Go to a museum. It's all right.
So buying Greenland isn't actually a bad idea. Can I just?
We do have
as long as the Greenlanders
there anyway.
We already have the military there. That's not a thing. Yeah. As long as the Greenlanders, we don't let them know how we treat like Puerto Rico.
They know they're not interested.
No, not interested. So here's the problem. I think they would be.
Well, Greenland says they're happy.
No, they don't. Denmark says Greenland is happy. Denmark is saying Greenland is happy.
So
Danes
who did the videos of the people in Greenland who are saying, like, I live in Greenland and I am this
Danes who live in Greenland. Danes who live in Greenland are happy with it. Do you know what the Inuit population there wants?
For us to leave them alone.
Kinda, but so this is a colony state, and this is an important distinction. And I'm going to go off on this rant a little bit. It's a colonized,
yep,
people who went through forced conversion of religion.
Yep.
When I was there, I would try to talk to some of the Inuits about, the spirit world, the before. And if you want to say something, if the Danish government or people, even whatever, go over there and ask them questions, how do you feel about the United States doing this? Oh yeah, we're against it totally. Yeah, it would be terrible. I guarantee you, if an American entourage was over there, what would you think if we took over the roads and the housing, got the food going over here? That'd be fine. Look, when I was there, when I went to the grocery store, all of the food in the frozen section, and a lot of it's frozen because that's how it's shipped over there, all of it was expired Danish goods. This is how the people in Greenland are being fed, with food that has expired from the Danish market, is then sold as the primary grocery.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, Denmark has done a expletive job in Greenland for forever, to the point where they're now giving them autonomy, which is another way of, we're going to spend even less on you, although you'll still have this weird connection where we're going to say that you're not, that Greenland doesn't want to be part of America. Who? The Danish people who have colonized say they don't want to be part of America. That's fine. But that's who you're talking to. You're not talking about the Inuit. The Inuit want to hunt.
88%.
Inuit want to fish. Inuit want to fish. And yeah, you're right. They want to be largely left alone.
Yeah.
But if the tourist dollars and the infrastructure is paid for by somebody else, that's fine. Go into the center of the thing, out with the polar bears, and you want to mine something.
Denmark forced birth control, Greenland's indigenous girls.
Not a good history. So this idea that they're like, oh, the Greenlanders wouldn't want a better shot.
Greenlanders, 88% of them are Inuit, or they're indigenous. Yeah.
Yeah, but
88%.
who you are hearing from on that, we don't want to be the Americans in here, tend to be from what so the reports that I've heard are
a lot of them are the native Inuit.
Okay, go look at the mayors of the towns in Greenland. And again, I haven't been there for 20 years, but when I was there 20 years ago, the mayors, the head of the post office, the whatever the official job was, Danish Greenlanders, not Inuit. The ruling class or the government class that got hired was Danish Greenlanders, not Inuit.
Right,
and so when you're telling me what the opinion of Greenlanders are, coming from a Danish filter at all, I don't believe it. I just don't.
I'm not saying it's not filtered. I'm just saying that I had not seen anything.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't.
I appreciate what you're. I appreciate hearing what you have to say, though.
Now, is this the right time to sell or join? No, it's not. This is, warning. It's not now. I think it's a good idea, but it's not right now. It really isn't right now. You're going to have to wait. But I think absolutely, I think that would be a better deal. If you made Greenland a state, I think it would be a better deal for the Inuit people, if done right. If done under the current regime, absolutely not. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's the question. I mean, okay, so you come from a colonist country, or colonized country, and you want to get independence from Denmark, right? You slow step there. You've got the United States saying, "Hey, we'll take you," but then it's just like you're just going to be attached to another colonizing nation, and then be used for minerals and strategic needs. So you could have a Crimea from Russia overnight. Yeah. You could have a Chinese financial influence turn it into Central African gold mines overnight. Like there's worse paths. There's worse paths. Independence, unfortunately, might not be the best plan. it just might not be. You're talking about a very small population. Yeah.
A very small population without a whole lot of resources who, by proxy, have been part of the
Avocados.
EU.
We do have avocados in
They
Greenland.
get better. They get avocados somehow sent to Greenland for the same price that we get them in California. Even though a tomato is $1.50.
Yeah, they don't want to just replace the colonizer. I think the independence move. I understand all the things that you're saying, though, Justin. But I don't live in
for
Greenland.
the independence movement, but they need a strong alliance, and it doesn't have to be as a state or a colony. But
with Canada and Australia.
Actually, it's if you join Canada, like they have a pretty terrible track record too, but at least they've been trying recently.
Bet more. Yeah, we'll see how it keeps going. Hopefully they don't do more.
They're closer. Really, they're closest.
Yeah. Book banning and burning and whatever, getting rid of
book banning?
libraries.
Who's burning?
Well, Canada, before Trudeau, they had a prime minister who was getting rid of old and like they were throwing out old books. But a lot of people were really upset because it wasn't like extra copies of old books. It was like it potentially had history and knowledge and it was a cleansing of certain parts of their knowledge reserve.
Is there a non-fascist country left?
No. Yeah, nobody does it right. We're trying, everybody. Let's do what we can do. I want to have more science. Science makes me happy when I find out about mouse medics.
Maybe Iceland. I know it's small, but they're close by, and I feel like you have a lot in common.
They're small enough that they were like, "Oi!" Well, they don't say "oi," but like they're like, "Hey, politicians who are all crooked, you're going to jail and you're fired." And then they hired new ones, and it's amazing. They're like, "No, we're not going to go with that." They've got issues and they're dealing with them, but yeah, they're actually working through their political stuff as opposed to accepting it.
And they've got a volcano that they might need to leave the island every once in a while. They need somewhere to go. It could
more
be
than
Greenland.
one. It's so many. Every once in a while, those little volcanic pimples pop and they start leaking. It's just lava. So much lava. I think it was Pepsi Cola or somebody asked a long time back in the chat how my conference prep was coming, and it is going. We are in the first week of Science Talk 25, and the virtual conference has gotten underway. We have had some really great sessions already this week virtually. We have a few new. Tomorrow we've got a virtual networking meet and greet stuff. Friday there's a mentorship panel, and then next week, bye Eric. Have a great night. See you later. Let's see. Next week we have even more amazing sessions with people, and I've met with them and done their checks, and they're so just the topics, the people. It's really inspiring and heartening to be able to talk with people who are interested in doing good things in the world and helping each other. And so I am, as tired as I am getting, the show tonight is in line with, we can sit and talk about this stuff that's happening, but we had a show talking about a bunch of awesome science and things that people were discovering. And it's that energy that I think really keeps me optimistic, because it makes me remember that, it's not all people trying to, not thinking and wanting authoritarianism or fascism or whatever. There's a lot of people out there who actually are working very hard to do good things, and
there would be less crime.
It would be a lot less true.
At least there'd be less reported crime. Because there'd be nobody to keep statistics on these.
I mean, isn't that what matters?
It's the.
It's like gun violence.
It's like it's like Trump. I was going to try to quote fascist dictator turned out to be Trump.
Mhm.
Well, we wouldn't have so many cases of this COVID if we didn't do so much testing.
It's true. It's a very accurate statement. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
but we have one more week of the fully virtual conference. We've got some great talks and panels and workshops coming up, and then I'll be flying to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'll be in Raleigh for a week doing the in-person conference and trying to help people connect. And I'll be running the hybrid, the live stream and the hybrid. I'm trying to get all of the people together to make the pieces work and get it to be a really good show. And then after that first week of April, I'm going to come home and sleep. Even though I'll be very inspired and happy from having met all sorts of people and had great conversations, I'll be very tired.
I'm very tired now because I just realized we're only 2 months in.
No, it's shock and awe right now. That's all.
It's only 2 months. We're only 2 months in.
Yeah. Yes, all of April.
Okay.
Recovery, snacks, and naps.
Yeah, I just keep running away because I'm like dripping snot still from. Was getting sick last week during the show,
I know.
and I'm just finishing being sick this week on the show.
And now Blair's sick.
Been a whole week.
Kai is sick, so I'm trying to avoid my child. He's like, I have a sore throat. I'm like, you have 2 days until spring break. You can't just not be sick for 2 more days. Come on. All right, everybody, go get better sleep than I've been getting this week. Sleep is really good for you. It helps with the garbage disposal for your brain. Sleep helps. Good sleep keeps the dementia at bay. So let's all go sleep well. Yeah. You want it bad? Go do it, Paul. Let's go sleep. And I don't care if you snore because I'm not there. Say goodnight, Justin.
Good night, Justin. Say good night, Kiki.
Good night, Kiki. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of This Week in Science and the many, many rants and discussions that followed. Up and down and up and down. So glad to help your mentality. I hope it helps more people. It does help mine. So great to be here with you.
We'll do a lighter after show next time, where we're less about the doom and gloom. We'll look at the silver lining, if there is one.
No, it's tinfoil.
But it's still this week now. This week now. So this week it's still, if there is one.
Lining.
But next week, we'll find the silver lining.
The silver
if
lining
there is one.
will be if there is one. Who are you? What's her name from SNL? If there is one, it'll be the tinfoil on the inside of my hat. That's the silver lining. Everyone,
I should have lined my hat with tinfoil. I didn't even think of that.
yeah, do it. If you go to the protest, make sure you have a fully like a Faraday cage suit on.
I kind of want to do
conversations inside of it. We're just totally going. You want to do what?
I kind of want to do a MAGA TWIS episode.
No, we should do it Mayha. Make America healthy again.
All the on a bunch of fake science news and give bad statistics for everything.
That would be April 1st. You'd have to do a show 2 days early.
Last month,
which was wrong anyway.
Last month, 3 school shootings were solved by thoughts and prayers.
No, they weren't. Man, that would make so many people angry. Yeah, make America science again. Let's do science, everybody. Let's do science to it. Critical thinking all around. May you all be healthy. May you get good sleep. May you continue to be curious. May you, I don't know, be safe and survive.
Be lucky. Just be lucky.
Lucky, everyone. Good night. See you next week.
See you then.